Okay, we are live. Hello, and welcome to another Tinybird live stream. I'm Al, and today we're going to be talking about building an e-commerce analytics dashboard. So we're going to focus primarily on building the front-end dashboard today. So we won't go into too much detail about the queries and the APIs that are behind the scenes. If you want to see how to build the APIs with Tinybird, we've got plenty of videos on the YouTube channel, so give those a watch. But today you're going to see how you can take those APIs that you've published in Tinybird and embed them in your applications. Now, a common way to do that is with a front-end web application. And so we're going to show you how to build a dashboard using Next.js and Tremor. So if you're not familiar with Tremor, don't worry, because my guest today is Achilles, who is one of the co-founders of Tremor. So Achilles, feel free to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about Tremor.
Yeah, hi everyone. As Alistair said, I'm one of the co-creators of Tremor. And what Tremor is essentially a React library that aims to make it really easy to build dashboards on the front end. So it provides a set of out-of-the-box components that are styled, and it's especially useful for people that are bad at designing like me. And yeah, so we provide a set of components, charts, input elements, etc. And we also have these blocks, as we call them, that are just code snippets that combine various Tremor components, and you can copy paste and get started immediately. And yeah, we decided to team up with Tinybird today, as they cover kind of the backend side of building a dashboard really smoothly. And yeah, we always kind of struggle to, or like, didn't have time to build, fully fledged dashboard, like our demo dashboard. We just use static data because we always thought it's going to take us so much time to build the backend. But yeah, I wish we did this earlier, because I was surprised how easy it is to build all the APIs, etc. I was not paid to say this, but it is actually. So yeah, feel free to continue.
Awesome. Cool. So if you want to go away and run all of the stuff that we do today, the Tinybird project and the dashboard that we build, it's available on GitHub. The repo is public. You can just go clone it, push it into Tinybird and run it yourself. I'll quickly flash the repo link on screen there. So yeah, let's get into it. I will quickly go through the resources that we have in Tinybird and what has been built there, but I'm not going to go into the queries and exactly what they're doing. All of that is in the repo, so you can go in and check out what those queries are. So we have a single data source, which is called sales events, which is taking in a stream of e-commerce sales transactions effectively. Out of that, we've got a bunch of pipes, and pipes are just the way of writing SQL and querying data in Tinybird. Those feed their results into materialized views. So, you run the query, you get a result, and then you materialize the results so that you don't have to run it every time. And then out of those, we have a bunch of APIs on the right here, which is, once you've done your analytics and you've gotten the result, you actually want to expose the result and stick it into your application. And Tinybird is just a way to get those APIs for free. Basically, you write your query, you press a button, you get an API. So the interesting thing here is that as these events come in to the sales events data source, and think of a data source effectively just like a table in a database, they are coming through these pipes, which again are just SQL queries, and they're getting materialized. And that happens in real time as the events are ingested. So one event comes into sales events, it goes through this pipe, which is a SQL query, and then the result of that is materialized immediately into a materialized view. So there's no schedule, there's no delay. It's just going through, event-driven, being materialized. And then we're publishing the results as an API. So we've got, what's that, seven APIs, and we'll plug some of those into our front end, so that we've actually got some data to play with. We are going to stream some synthetic data into the sales event data source. And to do that, we are going to use Mockingbird. So if you haven't heard of Mockingbird, it is an open source mock streaming data generator that we released about a month ago. It's free, it's open source, you don't need a Tinybird account, supports data sources, downstream destinations other than just Tinybird. So you can use it to send to Tinybird, but you can also use it to send to Kafka, Confluent Cloud, SNS, etc. If there isn't one that you want, it's open source, you can contribute. So I'll set that up. I'll kick the data stream off, and then once we've got data, I will hand it over to Achilles to start building the front end. So to set it up, I'm going to go into Tinybird and copy my auth token. Come back to Mockingbird, and you want to pick the Tinybird Events API, paste your API token into the API token box, and set your data source name, which is sales events. It's the table that I want it to appear in. And the events per second, I'm just going to stick it at 100 events per second. We'll say we're a pretty popular e-commerce store that's getting 100 sales per second. That's probably pretty unrealistic, but hey, shoot for the moon. And we won't set a limit, so it'll just keep going. And then we can start setting our schema. I'm not going to go through building a whole schema. I've got one. It's in the repo. I'm just going to copy and paste it. But the schema we're using is effectively a slightly modified schema from the eCommerce transactions template. So there's some templates here you can pick. We've just added a field or two. So I'm going to come over here, copy this out. And so I was just reading a couple of the messages in chat. Paste that in. And if I hit preview, you can see I get a little preview of the data that it's going to generate. So I'm going to hit start generating, and that should be kicking off a stream. And back in Tinybird, we should start seeing some more rows appear. There we go. It's ticking up. So we've already got 819,000 in there. It's going to be doing 100 second. So give it 10 seconds, we should see 820. There we go. Cool. So we've got data coming. And yeah, I mean, that's it. So we've got these APIs. I'm going to hand it over to Achilles to start showing you how to take those APIs and start building an application with those APIs.
Yeah, thanks. Let me know when you're sharing my screen. I can't actually see the chat, so let me know when there's like a question or something. I think it's worth showing the dashboard in the beginning that we're going to build. I don't know. I hope this is visible. But yeah, basically it's really simple. We just have like 2 KPIs here. For some reason my browser is lagging, and we can filter by countries here to see where the sales are coming from. And here we have like an aggregation for like the top products and top channels. But yeah, let's switch and empty this app and just get started to see how we can build it. Let's wait for it to load a second. Yeah, anyway, so I set up a Next.js application that uses Tailwind for styling. And here just have some utility functions for formatting data to dollars, etc. So yeah, just that you know where I import them from. And we have this basic homepage right now. It's just a title and a today polls icon, and we hard-coded the date just for the sake of this demo. And yeah, maybe let's get started with the.
Can you just zoom in a little bit on the code and VS Code?
Sure. Is that better?
Cool. How's that looking in chat?
Oh, font size up a bit. That's a tricky one.
I'll keep an eye on chat and let you know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Now we can't see the whole code, so maybe Oh, that's okay. Is it okay?
Well, let's go with it.
Okay.
If anybody gets stuck and you can't see it, just let us know and we'll zoom in some more.
All right. Yeah. I'll do this a bit. So that's okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, maybe let's add the filter on the, let's do some layouts in the beginning. We can add the filter on top. We'll use the flex component to stretch the children horizontally. And we will use the multi-select box to multi-select the countries. And let's populate it with some dummy data initially. I've never live coded. Let's see how it goes. Hope people don't get bored. But yeah, so let's wait for it to refresh. Let's build the chart part first. So we will use a card here and then add a tab list from Tremor. Let's import everything. Oh, all missing imports.
So there's a question about auth from the front end, which I'll take quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Which would be interested to hear more about how multi-tenant auth works and querying data from the front end. So whenever you publish an API, you can create auth tokens, right? Which whenever you give the URL out to somebody or you embed it in your application, it needs to be given an auth token for the query to be authenticated. You can apply scopes to those auth tokens. So obviously they can be very basic scopes like read, write, append, that kind of stuff. But they can also be slightly more complex, deep scopes, which can include SQL queries. So you can add a filter into an auth token, which effectively means that you can give it a read scope, but then also a where filter. And whenever the API is hit with that auth token, the filter is automatically applied to the query behind the scenes. So in a multi-tenant scenario, say you've got a table and one of the columns is customer IDs, you can create an auth token and give it a scope of where customer ID equals 123, and then give that to customer 123, and then whenever they hit that API, they will only ever get results of customer 123, and then we'll do the filtering for you. So that's one way to do it for the multi-tenant stuff. When you're doing it in the front end, obviously you've got to be wary of exposing the token in your application. So there are different strategies. In some cases, it doesn't matter. If you've got a read-only token and you're building an application that's going to just read everything, in some cases, it just doesn't matter if you expose that token, because somebody can just go to a public website, hit your thing, and it's going to query the API and read the data, and it's exactly the same as whether they have your token and just do a curl with the token. It's effectively the same. But obviously, that doesn't mean you have to do that. And so some people will put Tinybird APIs and the tokens behind something else, like an API gateway. So you could use Google Apigee, or build Vercel functions that just translates a hit to a Vercel function, and then the token is only ever kept server side in the Vercel function, and then it just returns a result. So different strategies for different scenarios. There is a page in the documentation on tinybird.co/docs. There is a page about API gateways and some strategies for obscuring auth tokens.
Yeah, thanks.
That was a long answer, and you've done a lot of code on screen. So why don't you walk?
Yeah, that was actually useful, because I was just aligning things a bit, adding some margins, etc. And yeah, we just I just added this like tab list here that you can see here to switch between sales and units sold. It's kind of the metric we just chose, and imported an area chart and a metric component to show the high level, like the aggregated sales, and the area chart, just some dummy data. Essentially, you need the data and then an index that dictates what the x-axis is going to be, and the categories, what columns we will choose for the y-axis. And yeah, I just added some like these state variables here on top to control the inputs, so the tab list and the multi-select box. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. For now, we can stay here and we'll take care of these like bar lists that were here later. I'd say let's just get into some data fetching. So we can have some empty components here. So the chart sales component, which is empty currently, and let's paste that in here for now. And for the fetching, we actually wrote a small plugin or utility module for fetching data from Tinybird. Thanks to, or shout out to Dimitri from Tinybird, from whom we stole the code, basically. But it's just like you have a provider that you put at the root of your app, and you just pass a token and the base URL so that the fetcher can grab those. And then you use this use fetch pipe hook. It uses SWR under the hood, and we'll just fetch the API, which in this case will be the total sales per hour API from Tinybird. Let's go back to this. And here we're just passing the kind of query parameters that we will use as a dictionary. So we'll be location, and then we'll use the date range that we had in the index file. So at the home page, we go. So just to show that again, this was just like the date from and date to query parameters. And for the location, that's a location that we will pass from the multi-select to this component. And here we need to do a small check that if the length is larger than 0, then we'll provide the locations as a list to the API, and if not, it will be undefined, because if we don't do this, it will just filter for an empty list and will not return a response at all. Oh, sorry, locations. That should work. Okay, cool. And yeah, let's call that total sales per hour. And this we can then just pass to our data here, which will be just an empty list if we don't have any data yet. And these indexes should be the same. Let's try importing that into our app here. So replace this dummy code with the sales chart. Yep. And pass the locations to it, and the locations being like the selected locations from the multi-select box. Let's see how that works.
So that's a little utility thing for fetching the pipes is pretty cool. To be honest, it's the first time I'm actually seeing it and seeing it be used. So it's very cool to see, because I mean that just saves a lot of of boilerplate of inside a next app of having to write hooks to fetch.
Yeah,
fetch an API.
That's kind of the goal. exactly. Like usually you do write some boilerplate code for fetching, and yeah, Tremor aims at making the front end part easy, and we figured we may use that. But yeah, don't know what people think of it. We just use it internally as well. So
and that utility is up on GitHub, right?
It is now. Yeah, I just pushed it actually. Yeah, Premiere, world premiere.
So it is very, very early, but I think it would be kind of interesting if people try it out and have feedback on that little utility.
Yeah, totally, it would be super helpful. I think I messed something up here. Because so now I'm just fetching like the aggregated metric, which is just called total sales API. So the pipe in Tinybird is called total sales API, and that should then show the aggregated data. We just need to format it a bit. And here we will use these like util formatters that I just showed before. And total sales. This is like an array response from the server. So we need to take like the first element and the sales from it. And if there's no data, we'll just do 0 for now. And by the way, I hear like in the util function, like the Tinybird fetcher, you can just pass like the response parameters as a type. And yeah, let's add it here to the metric. And that should be it. I will also format the y-axis here a bit. So you can use the value formatter to just pass a formatter function to display the y-axis in dollars. And we'll also do like a show start and only, or what is it, start and only, because the data is a bit just to show the like start and the end of the y-axis, of the x-axis, sorry. Cool. Yeah, that takes some time to load. Should work, however, hopefully. Okay, there you go. Cool. Oh yeah, the y-axis is a bit squeezed, so we can also tweak it here a bit. Increase the width. And yeah, that's it for the sales. I guess we can just do the same for the units sold. So let me just copy paste that because I'm lazy. People shouldn't get bored. And so yeah, I'm just going to replace. Yeah, sorry.
How much of what we're seeing today in setting up and building with Tremor is part of, because you did a big release of Tremor. Was it Tremor 2.0? Was that what the release was called?
Yeah.
Which added quite a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah. So it didn't add as much stuff component wise. So people just wanted to use Tailwind, basically pass Tailwind classes from the root to the components, which makes sense because we said like Tremor is based on Tailwind. So people lacked that customization, and we enabled that. And we generally also expose all sorts of like native HTML attributes to our components and things like that. So we opened up the API a bit. Initially, we didn't do this because we thought, okay, we just want people to have what we think they will need. But it turns out people do need a lot more usually in practice. So yeah, we open it up essentially. And it's still quite restricted when it comes to customization. So like customizing styles. But we plan to open that up a bit more in the future as well. We just are thinking of how to do this in an elegant way. So lots of thinking going on behind the scenes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that feedback quite a lot. I mean, personally, I enjoyed having the, you know, somebody with a better design skills having done a lot of it for me. So I'd have to think about it, because whenever you get something that's highly customizable, I am liable to just make it look awful. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
same.
how how thoughtful the design was out of the box. But it did look like a lot of people wanted to be able to customize. I guess what you're opening yourself up to, though, is questions of when's dark mode coming.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually something we are working on as well. So basically, we are thinking to provide a dark mode out of the box initially. So hopefully, like it will serve a lot of people for now, and eventually the goal is to also provide, you know, theming and things like that to the API. But yeah, initially we will probably release like an out of the box dark mode that people can use. But yeah, dark mode is a big one, right? What people want a lot.
Mode. Love me a dark mode. And anything that's got a dark mode option, I'm just immediately, that's like the first thing I do with something new, is just immediately dark mode.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Quite happy that GitHub Enterprise released dark mode recently. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have it for Enterprise, and it was so tiring to look at it the whole day.
There's an experimental setting in Google Chrome where you can toggle this little experimental flag on, and it will just like invert the colors on a site and try and force everything into dark mode. And it kind of works most of the time, but it can get pretty weird. I use it for GitLab, although GitLab's got a dark mode now, I think.
Does it? Okay. Do you guys use GitLab at Tinybird?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. In the meantime, I completed this like unit sold chart, which is basically the same as the sales chart. I hope I did all the necessary replacements. And now we'll just do like a conditional rendering thing here. So if we selected the sales KPI, we render the sales chart, and otherwise we do the unit sold chart. Pass allocations here as well. Okay. I guess we can wait for it to render now. Let me refresh maybe. Surprise, I messed something up. Oh, actually, this is
it's the live stream. It's got to happen at least once.
It does, right? But yeah, this is like we need to do a bit of a hack here, because when the data is empty, then the index cannot be found, and that causes this error that I just learned about now, like just before, basically. But yeah, we'll just do like a dummy array here that has an hour, and that should fix it, I hope. Silence here. Yeah, it seems like with the live stream, the browser gets quite slow.
Is this just your machine taking a while to rebuild?
I think so, yeah. Definitely need a new machine though. This looks good. There you go. Cool. All right. Now we can,
same thing. Oh, not quite.
Not quite, yeah. Have it here. So same problem here for the other chart. So I just fixed it. Yeah, you should sponsor me a new machine for these live streams. Cool. All right. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, in the meantime, we also, added, like, we're passing the locations array here, but there's no locations there yet. So these we need to fetch from Tinybird as well. So we just have like a locations API that returns a list of locations. Data. And locations response as a type.
I am really liking the look of this this little utility thing.
Are you?
It's like
happy?
From if I go back a couple years, of building APIs and having to go into the, picking my own API framework and writing all of the HTTP functions to handle the HTTP methods, and then picking an ORM library and having to take in a request and then build up an actual query and learn an ORM and like all the SQL alchemy nonsense and do that. And I don't know, this is just it feels like a massive change of like effectively never having to do any of that, never having to use like an ORM and worry about handling inputs and escaping things properly and all that stuff. Just write a query, get an API, and then in the front end just say which one I want and just run that, and it's all done. It's just
yeah, it's super easy. Like I managed to just build the whole thing. So yeah, disclaimer, we built this before, actually. I'm not building this for the first time, gotta confess. But yeah, it is I managed to set this up in like less than an hour, actually, in less than an hour. So yeah, it was a big help there. And yeah, much of the heavy lifting done from Tinybird, of course. So now I'm now I'm just mapping the locations. Oh yeah.
If I wanted the chart to refresh, can I pass through a refresh interval into the Tinybird custom hook to use with SWR?
Oh, that's a good question. At this point, you can't. But yeah, that's a good addition. Maybe you can open a pull request on the repo. So this is very fresh. We just built it like literally for the live stream, more or less. And yeah, but that's a good idea, actually. Sorry, I just this up. Okay, cool.
I know that the Stephen Tay of Vercel has, I'm not sure what he uses. I mean, it's open source, so we could go and look. But he uses Tinybird behind the scenes for his link shortener project, dub.sh.
All right, yeah.
And he does some fancy stuff with the charts on that, of auto refreshing and all that kind of stuff. It's beyond my level of front end, so I'm sure the details are there in his repo. Is open source, so yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, and like, we're of course happy to extend this like little plugin. So yeah, if people have suggestions, feel free to open a pull request or post it in Slack. We have a Slack channel now, actually. So yeah, happy for any suggestions. And yeah, in the meantime, we built this like little multi-select here. Oh, I see a bug. It doesn't filter for the location for some reason. Let me check it here. That's strange.
I will get a link up for your
from our
Tremor
repo.
Slack and send that in.
Oh, yeah, that
chat
would
so
be
people
cool.
can come and join you in Slack.
Yeah, that would be cool actually. Yeah, I don't know, for some reason it's not right now filtering the data. Just checking what I did wrong. Locations. Yeah, if anyone can spot the bug.
Yeah, this is always the fun when you
isn't it? Yeah.
Make a small
That's
error
it.
that is
Yeah. Yeah, actually I don't know what I just messed up.
I spent about 5 minutes on a live stream a couple of weeks ago trying to notice that I missed the buy in a group buy. So it was just group.
I watched that one. Yeah.
I spent forever just trying to work out what that was. That was good fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why this is happening now. Like, if anyone has spotted the bug, feel free to let me know. I'll just continue. Or should we add a bar list, or should we wrap it up? I don't mind, because we're 37 minutes in now. Yeah.
I mean, we've got a couple of minutes if you want to quickly throw a one of the bar lists in there.
Okay, we'll do.
Speed run it and just show how quickly you can get that in.
Yeah, let's see. So yeah, we have this bar list component here, like the empty one, and yeah, we'll use Tremor's bar list to show these the top channels. So we'll do the top channels for a single day, as in like Instagram and so on, for the sales. And here, you remember what the name was? The pipe. So we got the.
You're getting channels. Asked about Tremor swag, by the way, in chat.
Oh, right, yeah, that's a hot topic.
It looks like Seb is making some promises about getting some Tremor swag.
Yeah, that's something we got working, or got in the works. So
you heard that here. The Slack link is in the chat. Go and join their Slack and hound them for stickers.
Exactly. So yep, we got the data here, and so we fetched data from the pipe. Now we need to map it to the bar list data keys. So we got the value, which will be the sales. Then we have the name, which will be like the channel, like the UTM source. And last but not least, for empty data, it's just going to be an empty array. So yeah, let's import that in the file. Let's add a divider here to divide these.
And there was a quick question about the filter list of, did we put up a pipe for the unique countries available? And yes, there is a locations API, which is effectively just a list of countries, which is a very common way of populating those drop downs or things that have got filters in. Is just an API that selects the unique values and publishes it, and then you can just fetch that and get whatever the latest set of unique values is.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What we do, we have this like locations API here. There you go. And yeah, here you just define, maybe to show like the Tinybird workspace a bit as well, just define a query. So here we just select distinct locations essentially, and return it in the schema. We also return the sales here, but we disregard those. And yeah, here we can also maybe add a little title, just say top channels, sales channels, and add some padding margins here. And yeah, this is it. I think once it loads, I think people have gotten the rough idea of how it works. Just to maybe reiterate on that part, we fetch the channels from like the top channels from the top channels API. So the aggregation happens on the back end, and we just pass it to this bar list here. We can also format the data with the value formatter or through the value formatter prop as well. Do formatters.sales, and hopefully the sales will be shown nicely here then. Oops, sorry. Yeah, this doesn't expose the class name. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Could also add a little like legend here. Not legend, but like a label.
While you add that legend, so there's a question of, so if you had a few filterable types, is it worth trying to provide those all in one pipe, or would it not matter if it's a small handful of individual API requests? It's effectively a style thing. You know, you're not we're tracking the amount of data that was scanned to serve the request and not the actual amount of requests. So if you put that all into one API request, or you split it between 3 API requests, it doesn't matter how many requests you make. If it processes the exact same amount of data to serve that request, it's exactly the same. So it's whatever is easier for you. You might do it all in one big API that just returns all of them, and how to chop it up. You might do it with 3 individual APIs for different filters and hit them individually, or you could do it with multiple nodes within one pipe and then have a query parameter that is like, I want the list for countries, or I want the list of shops, or whatever it is. And so it's the same API, but you get a different response based on the query parameter. I was thinking more about client query performance. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one in that, obviously there's the potential overhead of making 3 fetches rather than 1 fetch, but realistically, I don't know that 1 fetch versus 3 fetch for what is a relatively small response, and the response time is going to be 10 milliseconds or something. That I don't know whether the overhead makes that much of a difference. That is that the overhead is worth designing around, and more design for whatever is easier for you to maintain and write, rather than thinking about the performance, because the overhead is tiny.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. Sorry for this bug. I think I just bore people if I try to find it.
We're gonna sit here in silence for the next 10 minutes while you fix it. We're not finishing until you fixed it.
Please don't. But yeah, I hope people got a rough idea and of Tremor and also Tinybird. And yeah, was fun to do it first time. Maybe we'll do one again if people liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you back. I think it's awesome just to see how fast and easy it is to build up a front end application. I mean, it's easy enough that someone like me can throw together a nice, pretty looking Tremor dashboard, and my front end skills are practically non-existent. So yeah, thanks for taking us through that. If you want to go and see the full project, which has got the full dashboard with everything filled out, no bugs in it, then go and check out the GitHub link that I shared, and the full project is there. So that's pretty much, I think that's everything. Unless there are any last questions that come from chat, we'll give it a close there. Not seeing anything come through on chat, so apologies if you're just a slow typer. I think we'll close it there. So cool, thanks everybody for coming and watching. Thank you, Achilles, for doing that with us.
Yeah, thank you for hosting it. It was fun. Yeah, see you next time, I guess.
Awesome. Cheers, everyone.
See ya. Thanks for watching.